Hey folks, Vince the Evil DM back with another episode of Railguns and Dragons. I'm back in the comic book store, or the gaming store, whatever this is behind me. I like this background, so you're going to have to live with it. Thanks for those that are joining me, supporting me. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can now hit the join button you can see below, and you can support my channel that way, or just go to theevildm.com/support, and you can support me in everything I do. TheEvilDM.com is my website where I have my podcast that talks about gaming, but mostly Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 1E right now. I do Palladium here, and on my audio podcast, I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons, which is also another good game. But anyway, we're going to get into another class this week, or today. I keep saying this week. Today, called the Warlock. If you're flipping to page 76, you can see the Warlock class. Looking at the word Warlock, we first would think male witch, right? But no, it's not a male witch. Looking at the Warlock word itself, it means a man practicing dark arts for evil purposes. A translation of the Saxon word means oathbreaker. A book that is ABC of Witchcraft by Doreen Valenti. The author states that the word is of Scottish descent, meaning cunning man or male witch, but in recent centuries has shifted to hold negative connotations, just meaning liar. In the saga of Eric the Red of Norse mythology, a sacred song is sung to ward off evil spirits during religious ceremony. The idea of the song, as applied to a person, is a spell singer rather than a liar or an oathbreaker. Some of this may have to do with misinterpretations of meanings by monks who were trying to convert the Scots from their early pagan religion to Christianity. After all, if a clan's cunning man was referred to as a warlock and his activities clearly went against the teachings of the Christian churches, then obviously the word warlock must have connotations of evil. But whatever the case, in fantasy of Palladium, warlock is basically an elementalist, controlling the four elements of the earth. Wind, air, well, there's five. I said four elements. Earth, wind, air, water, and fire. I assure you, this is not a planeteer. A warlock will devote his life, as you can see here, to one of the elements. You have to choose one of the elements when you're first starting, or you can choose a second element, splitting your devotion between two of them, but that's really about it. You need an IQ of 6 and an ME of 10 if you want to qualify for this class to devote your life to one of the elements. You do need an IQ of 12 and an ME of 14 to devote yourself to two elements. Now, it does say something completely different right here, but if you look over here on this page, it gives you the proper things that you need to qualify for the class. That's all. So, like I said, you will devote yourself to one of the elements. Now, the advantage of having two elements versus just one element, you get to choose from a wide variety of spells under your element. So, fire, we get fire spells, water, we get water spells, blah, 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 and so forth. But the down or disadvantage of it is you never become a master truly of just one of those. You'll be splitting your time in between one or the other element, because when you're casting your spells, you either cast from the one element or the other element. You never learn all the stuff from both elements at one time. Okay, so elemental magic, pretty much, is not the same as wizardry magic, and while wizards do get some minor access to elemental magic, it is more magical instead of elemental sourced like a warlock. Remember, your element is like your deity. You're devoting your life to this element, so your powers are granted much like a priest and his deity. A warlock can cast spells much like a wizard, having a certain number of spells per day, regardless of what level. So if you're, say, first level, you get 2 per day if you have one element. If you have 2 elements, you get 1 from one and 1 from the other. Higher levels, you obviously get access to more spells when you level up, and you can cast them in any order you want. You don't have to just memorize them or learn them. It's a matter of getting it from your deity. Warlocks do not learn any spell magic, circles, or wards, but can learn to recognize symbols, circles, and such as time goes on, just like anybody with a higher intelligence as you're running around. You see a circle, and someone with a high intelligence will remember that, and next time they see it, can ask the DM, am I familiar with this? And maybe some type of memory recall role or memory recall mechanic you can employ in your game, which I've done in many of my games, uh, to help players remember things. Because sometimes when a player gets caught, and I'm running off on a tangent here, but sometimes when a player gets caught in a situation and the group is just sitting there going, duh, what am I going to do? Because you've done something as a DM not to trigger anything, you can use a mechanic called memory recall, which I kind of invented many, many, many years ago for games to help players out. Anyway, back to the Warlock. A Warlock can do the multi-classing thing. They are allowed, but they will not do anything spell magic-wise. So they're definitely going to stay away from wizardry or probably even a priest because they're devoting their life to elemental magic. That is their deity. That is their god. So they're not going to go after those things. But everything else, they're pretty much free to do. You could be any alignment that you wish. There is no restrictions on your alignment. And you gain the following abilities. So let's get over here to the abilities. You get Speak Elemental, Sense Elements, Non-Aggression Pact, and Summon Elementals. So Speak Elementals. A Warlock can communicate with any elemental regardless of your focus of element. Elementals and Warlocks are like pals and will defend one another. Unless, of course, a Warlock is a dick and treats an element poorly, in which they all know, and treat the Warlock with pure hate, thinking they are scum. How do they all know? I don't know. Maybe they're all interconnected because of the beings from another dimension of elements. I don't know. Maybe they gather around in a circle and chat with each other around coffee time. I don't know. But they do know. They do know. You can sense elements. You have a 60-foot radius around you, and there is a 15% chance per level that you can sense there's an element around you. There's a 75% chance that you could see an air elemental, including a djinn, should they not be visible to the naked eye. The non-aggression pact, or non-aggression. So as I stated, they're pals. The Warlocks are considered elements' little brothers, so to speak, and will not attack them unless they have to. And if a group attacks an elemental, the elemental will not attack the Warlock at all unless the Warlock attacks the element first. Heck, if an elemental is forced to attack a Warlock, he will politely tell him beforehand and understands that the Warlock has to fight back. Once those formalities are out of the way, the elemental will attack with all its fury. So it's kind of funny. But Warlocks can actually reason with elementals and stop an attack and battle by talking to them. Elements will always give Warlocks a chance or benefit of the doubt. So they have a really good relationship working with one another, and they respect one another unless, of course, the Warlock is probably evil and treats elements like a jerk. Now, summon elementals, which is kind of cool. You get your own little element buddy to help you. Once a day or once in a 24-hour period, you can summon an element of your path, starting at 5% per level and starts out at a lesser elemental, increasing to a greater one. This elemental will come to the aid of the Warlock, helping him in any way possible, obeying any order without question. But after a day or so, that elemental is going to be like, yo, I need to go, man. I need to go back home. I'm getting lonely for home, whatever. And it is up to the Warlock to say, yes, I dismissed you. You may go. Because they will not leave on their own. They can't. They're bound to help. But should the Warlock not release them, they'll be like, all right. And then a few days, they'll ask again. And if a week goes by, they will start growing resentment, anger, and hate towards that Warlock. Each week that the Warlock keeps this element under his control, there's a 12% chance that the Warlock will turn on the element, will turn on the Warlock and attack him. But, of course, he will politely say, yo, listen, I need to be released and go home. If you don't do it right now, I'm going to kick your ass and I'm going to kill you. Giving the Warlock a small chance to redeem himself by saying, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. But if the Warlock does not, the element will absolutely attack with all its fury and attempt to kill the Warlock regardless. Okay, a Warlock does have a wide range of weapons available to them. So let's go over here. They're not limited really by their choice of weapons, except that what they're allowed in their class. So there's no real restriction on that. And armor, as far as armor is concerned, they follow the same rules as wizards. Hand-to-hand combat is the same thing. You don't have it unless you pick non-men of arms combat. And there's another note here that color and clothing of a warlock are important. They will dress to their element. Fire will wear all red, and earth will wear all brown colors. And let's see, water will be blue. So they like to just basically have their special robes that honor their element, so to speak. They will wear jewelry to correspond with the direct element of life they are chosen. So, like I said, you needed an IQ of 6 and an ME of 10 to choose one element for this class, and an IQ of 12 and ME of 14 to choose 2 elements. So, rounding off everything here, you get power words, symbols, and can speak 2 additional languages at plus 25%. Now, the symbols you get are only elemental based, and the power words you get are elemental based too. And I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce these things, because I cannot. I couldn't imagine making a player pronounce some of these things. They are not easy things to pronounce. At least I can't do them. I'd be like, blah, 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 and tongue twist them all out. You can speak 2 additional languages in your area of study and knowledge, and you get 6 elective skills at level 1 and 8 elective skills at level 1 as well. And here is your list of skills. So as you can see here on page 78, it lists the spells that you can cast per day. And if you have 2 elements, your spell casting per day is split down the middle between the 2 of them evenly. When you level up, you gain access to new spells on that level. You have every one of them just like a priest would do, but you're only allowed to cast a certain amount. You don't have to memorize or prepare the things like in other games, but you can cast whichever ones. If you're level 2, any 4 from your one element, or any 2 from one, any 2 from the other. You do get 2 spell attacks starting at level 4, and you do have your bonuses as it says on the chart. And 1,881 is the minimum points to get to level 2. So they're not on the higher end and they're not on the lower end. They're just kind of in the middle of all the other classes we reviewed so far. That is the Warlock. I think that's a fun class to play. It has loads of possibilities for a player that can be inventive with elemental spells. Like, we'll take a quick look at some of these spells here. The fire spells like Blinding Flash, Cloud of Smoke, Create Cult. There's a lot of possibilities with these spells that you can do that are elemental based. Like I said, a creative player can really roll with this class and have a lot of fun, especially if you get an elemental bodyguard, so to speak, to help you out. I think it's kind of an awesome class to play. And going over this again, I'm just thinking to myself, wow, this is a really cool class to play. And one of the players in my group is going to be playing this class. And I do hope that she has a lot of fun with this class. Another thing to note here is, which I really appreciated with Palladium books where they do this. Bottom of the page, it does list under all the spells the page number for the spell itself. So fire spells are on page 91 to 95, and air spells 81 to 86. And it's right in a convenient place for you, so you don't have to flip through the book or look in the back or look to the front and try to figure out where it is or bookmark it. It's just right there. I appreciated that they did that. And thank you, Palladium. Thank you very much. So with that said, I'm going to head out. Don't forget to hit like on this video. Subscribe to the video if it's your first time here. If you want to support me, hit the join button or go to theevildm.com/support. You can find out various ways there. Leave a comment below telling me your experiences with the Warlock class and how it rolled in your game. Did you have fun with it? Did you not like it? What things do you think you would do to change this class if you could change it? Not talking about 2nd edition here. Now, if it was up to you as your DM, I know a lot of you guys out there as GMs make your own house rules and add things, and I've seen a bunch of people comment on things that they would do to make classes better in their eyes, and I love to see that stuff because it gives me inspiration of my own. And yeah, sometimes I'll steal it, but that's what we do as gamers. We all take our own ideas from each other and maybe tweak it here and there and be like, hey, dude, that's a great idea. I'm going to use that in my game. And that's what the purpose of these videos are. Me going over things and talking about it and maybe throwing in a couple things that I think about them. And maybe it inspires you to do something as well when you're playing the class. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.